Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Victor. This is Jack. So, National Socialism is only for white people, right? Because Hitler, Nazis.
No, it's actually the opposite of that.
Oh,
And so we're making this movie in a week we call Black Week, where we're talking about like some black issues.
Okay.
Okay. And one of the things I want to talk about is how National Socialism applies to black people. Now,
Okay.
this might be controversial if you're like feeling, pretty white supremacy, like
Okay.
if you're in that zone and you're watching us. But hear me out here, okay? Now, it also applies to Hispanic people,
okay.
Asian people, but specifically this is in Black Week, and I'm specifically addressing this to black people because
Okay.
black people are trendsetters in the United States.
Okay.
They can do what's popular. They can make things popular. Now, when I say National Socialism is for black people, I don't mean our National Socialism is for them. Ours is for us alone. It's based on a homogenous group.
Right.
But their National Socialism is for them,
Right.
tailored
them.
for them. And I wouldn't mind having, this is controversial, a room, and on one half it's white people, on one half it's black people.
Okay.
And then the white speaker gets up and says, for our people, we must do the best things for our people. And the white people and the black people cheer.
Sure.
We like it when you guys do what's best for you. And the black guy gets up and says, we need to do the best things for our people. You know what I mean? For culture, tradition, faith. You know what I mean? And white people cheer too. Wish you the best, brothers. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I don't mean brothers, But like, do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
They're completely separate, but it's the same philosophy. And if you took an African nation like Nigeria, right? I always use Nigeria. I don't know why. No clue. And then they bring in National Socialism, right? So they're taking this idea of National Socialism and then they're just infiltrating it with their culture, with their customs, tradition, religion. It's going to look fairly different than
Right.
France's National Socialism. That's fine, though.
Sure.
Custom make it to you. I'm not saying you have to have a German National Socialism in Nigeria. I'm definitely
Right.
not saying that. And definitely not in a more collectivist country, like China or just East Asian, So let me ask you this. If you had a bunch of black people, right,
Okay.
who were the ones who like dress cool, they got the nice little hair things going on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like whatever
Okay.
the popular things are, they're doing that,
Okay.
right? And then they're all wearing like leather jackets with swastikas on them.
Uh-huh.
Just imagine. They would literally instantly go viral. And it'd be like, what are these dudes doing? And they'd
Yeah.
be like, yeah, we're Nazis.
Right.
And people would be like, what are you're black. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, black nationalist.
Yeah.
See, we have black nationalists.
Right.
We just don't have black national socialists.
Interesting. Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And like Louis Farrakhan, he's a black nationalist, but he's Nation of Islam. So he would never be a national socialist. He's a nationalist with a religious, you know what I'm saying? It's
Okay.
Nation of Islam,
Yeah.
And then, of course, I didn't get a chance to talk to Malcolm X. I would have loved to just sat with this man. You know what I'm saying? Who hates whitey? I don't care. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. That's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But imagine. So we want to give some examples now,
Okay.
right? So we're going to go, like you say, but you can't prove that. Like go back to Nazi Germany. You can't prove it. So we're going to prove it in a variety of ways.
Okay.
Okay? Do you want to tell the story about the Arabs in the Waffen SS?
Yeah. So, we got this info from a movie called The Greatest Story Never Told. You can find it on Rumble and
Yeah.
I'm sure BitChute. But in there, it goes into some details about the type of people who were in the SS. And if I remember correctly, it was 60,000 Muslims were there. And so they came specifically to fight for Hitler. And they were arranged so they had their own imams, and there's another term that's the higher up one, but they were allowed to govern themselves, perform all their religious, Islamic customs or whatever, but they were still fighting for this cause.
Right.
So they're separate but the same. You know what I mean?
Right. But they were fighting so that German National Socialism could win, so that they could then export it and have National Socialism with already a ready-made ally who
Right.
controls like all of Europe at that point. If things
Sure.
would have gone good. And it's like, at the time, the number one book in the Middle East was the Quran, obviously. The number
Okay.
two book was Mein Kampf.
Wow.
That was the number two book. Because they were all reading this like, wow, here's a model. And then they were even sending, like, it's a tough ask if you say, hey, Do I want to go to Ukraine and fight for Ukraine, or Russia and fight for Russia, depending on
Right.
what side you're on? Gaza to fight for. Really don't want to do any of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I may be passionate about. I'm not really one or the other, but I'm not really gonna go. I'm raising kids.
It takes something special to get
something
you.
special,
Right.
right? It's not like they're bound by an alliance, you know,
Right.
because they're coming out of mostly countries that are under the British Empire, and so they're seeking to shake off the shackles of empire and replace them for self-rule through National Socialism. So anyways, there's a couple more stories I want to tell you, right?
Okay.
So Jesse Owens was a famous runner, right?
Yeah.
And he won several gold medals in the 1936 Olympics held in Berlin.
Yep.
And there's a whole story behind that about, we're going to get to that in the Hitler Myth series. I'm not really talking about that story. Here's another story though, right? They told him when he goes to Berlin, you can't go outside because the people are so phenomenally racist. They're Nazis. They're going to be so racist, you know? And he wrote in his biography years and years later, you know? And he wrote and he said they were 100% correct. I could not go outside because the reason why is because I got thronged by so many Germans that wanted to shake my hands and get my autograph, right? But why is that? Do you want to tell them why? What do you think?
I think it's the German people were taught to love greatness, and he was great.
Yes. So it's not like this guy's going to rob you or
Right.
he's a threat. He's not going to steal your woman.
Yeah.
But they're like, if my son could run 94% as fast as you, I would have him on my shoulders in a second. You know what I'm saying? And be the proudest father in the world. And so they see in him excellence.
Right.
Are they throwing the N-word at you? No. Okay, let's talk about the next story then, because it comes to the N-word, okay? So this is Tuskegee Airmen, right? Were black Americans who became pilots and flew sorties out of Britain into Europe, you know? And there was this guy, I forget his name, but this was also in the same documentary, The Greatest Story Never Told, Adolf Hitler. And basically, he flew a sortie and he got downed in Europe somewhere, and he got captured by the Germans, you know? And he's like, dang, this is going to be terrible, you know? And they put him in a cell, and basically what happened is he wrote in his biography, he said that this was the first time in his life that he ever felt free. In this prison cell, this is the first time he felt free because he was actually getting treated by white people as equal or better.
Wow.
Because the German officers were coming to commend him about, you know what I mean, like amazing that you could overcome all the racism in America, still become a top pilot, fly, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to shake your hand. And it's like, goose steppers are doing this, the jackboots, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they just treated him phenomenally well. And in his biography, he writes, and then he flies home and he lives in the South. I think it was Atlanta or something. He flies to the South and he gets off the airplane and he hears the intercom and it says, N-words on the left side, white folk on the right side. And he's like,
I'm back here.
I'm back here. Do you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so like, well, I'll tell you a story that contradicts that story. Okay. So basically what happened is I believe it was the Weimar Republic years. Weimar Republic, I believe. But what happened is I'm not ready for this with facts, but the French were, so the Weimar Republic couldn't pay its war debt. They couldn't pay it fast enough. So the French sent troops to occupy the Ruhr Valley, which is their industrial center, to make sure that they were getting the goods out to repay as much as the debt. And this is before the Dawes Plan, which was when America stepped in to fix this, you know? And so the French sent in troops. Well, among them, they sent in 500 black troops, right? And the Germans were furious at this, right? So this is different than having Jesse Owens visit you.
Right.
This is different than having a captive black man. This is sending 500 armed black men in to rule you. You know what I'm saying? By force. And so it's a totally different, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a totally different thing. Like imagine America does poorly in a war, and then you work at a port, and all of a sudden, like 500 Chinese soldiers, I'm cool.
Right.
It's not because I hate Chinese people. It's because, I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This just doesn't seem right. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And then it's like, yeah, you know, there's the women are working there. It's just a whole thing, you know, like I pass. So I represent that as contradictory evidence, but I think that it's different circumstances.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to still make my assertion.
Right.
You know?
And the assertion you're making is that this was not a racist, like, government.
Right.
This,
Yeah, if it was if you're looking at it like, okay, so I'm a Middle Easterner and I want to move to Germany today and I want all the welfare and stuff. Okay, go ahead. You do it back then, they would be very racist against you. They just wouldn't give you the stuff though, because
Right.
it's not for you, it's for their people. And if you want to say, well, I'm being discriminated against. I'm a Pakistani, you know what I'm saying? And I want all the things in Germany. They're not your things. They're
Right.
not for you. So it could appear to be racism. But Jesse Owens is not coming to ask for the things.
right.
Tuskegee Airmen is not coming to ask for the things, yet he's getting the things because they're like, let's treat this guy really good. He's a fine specimen of a human being.
Sure.
Whether African or European, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyways, so my point here is that now this is controversial. Because if you were really like a hardcore white supremacist, you might say like, how dare you? Wait a second.
This is ours.
Yeah, wait a second. When you have your white nationalist ethno-state, right? National Socialism under a homogenous group, right? Who do you want to be your allies in this country? I mean, in the world. Do you want your allies to be democracies, right? Do you want them to be the king of Saudi Arabia? Do you want them to be the communists?
You want other National Socialists?
You want other National Socialists. I want National Socialists with dark skin, with moderately dark skin, with slanted eyes, with, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Big four. I don't care what it is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I don't care what the pattern of your hair is. You know what I'm saying? I want,
Yeah.
because through a coordinated effort.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're ultimately all shooting for the same thing for your people. You're just going about it in slightly different ways.
Right. Because it's like, if you're talking about trade, right? In the way it works nowadays is this, right?
Okay.
Canada wants to dominate us with trade, right? So they know if they bribe the right people, they can dominate us, and their dairy cartels can screw us over. So their dairy cartels do this deal and pay the right hands, and we get this off-balance trade deal. And Canada's just doing dirty things to us against our will. Do you know what I'm saying? And then Trump comes in and be like, none of that. You know what I mean? And so Trump fixes it, you know? But in this situation, you would have two countries, and like I would be talking to you. You're the leader of Nigeria,
Okay.
we'll say, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm United States. And I'm like, hey, I want to make a good deal with you. We're both National Socialists. I want to make a good deal with you. I don't want you to get screwed. I don't want me to get screwed. I want it to be positively beneficial for both of us. Not because we have more army than you, and no leaning.
Right.
I think that'd be terrific.
It'd be wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
And raise up both people.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And then we have a one world national. No, just kidding.
Oh, wow.
Not that ever.
Ever.
Not that ever,
Yeah.
because it just wouldn't work.
It doesn't
It's
work.
not part of, which is a good safety net,
Right.
because the more National Socialism you have, the less globalism you necessarily have.
Right. It's built into it that
It's built into it that that's not a thing.
Right.
Right. You could have alliances all around.
Sure.
But you need your own national government because you want to be ruled by your people who have your best interests in mind.
And your customs and your way of thinking and all of it. Yeah.
So black people, just think about the virality of this. See, Kanye tried it. He literally tried this exact thing.
Okay.
The problem is he's so, like, he's really bright, but he's kind of autistic, and he's not the persuader.
Okay.
So he doesn't have the words. So he knows the things, and sometimes do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to go into it, you know, but the right guy. Anyways, or just regular old black folk.
Yeah.
I'd love to see just random, like, dude, I'll freaking high five you so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think? It's legitimate. But,
Yeah, totally.
okay.
National Socialism for all.
Right.
Yeah.
For all, for yourselves.
Right.
For your
yourselves.
peoples.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
All right. Like you said, controversial. What are your thoughts? Definitely would love to hear from people who are totally like offended by this, that you think it's only for white people. And if you look into it, that doesn't seem true at all, but I'd love to hear your reasoning and why it can't be shared and why it wouldn't work for other people. Leave us your thoughts below. See you next time.